The occult school of magic. Lindahl had become by almost unanimous decision the archmage of the occult school of magic a long time ago. Abroad, that is, in the northern kingdoms, the forces of the different schools of magic had spread, leaving Eragmador with the white school of luminous magic and the school of pyromancy. In the north was the school of the ice of the unscathed. Near Hyperion, further north, a group of magicians led by the young Luna created the school of the Aquamantes there. In Kiriel itself was the school of thunder. In Trandis the school of the earth was founded, and in the east the school of the wind, in a small town near Ilvanar. Errol entered the Archmage's hall where Lindahl was. The room had huge volumes of magic from the very floor to the ceiling. All of them seemed very important, some of them written by Lindahl himself, by Balahir, and also by Errol and the rest of the members of the occult school of black arts and other arts, which was how they had baptized it, although over time it ended up being simply the occult school. Lindahl, we have received news from Marianer of some revolts of the merchants because of some boys that woke up. Lindahl gathered up her long black hair that covered her face and fell over the grimoire she was studying with a huge tabletop magnifying glass. They've woken up quite a few wizards lately. Do you think it's just a coincidence? Errol as always distrusted everything, but she had offered herself as an advisor to the Archmage. She could not simply respond with evasions. Our records mark an increase in mage awakenings. That is a fact. Whether it is a coincidence or not, that I cannot say. I understand. She looked away from the grimoire. What does that have to do with us anyway? The Turamontes school is much closer than us. Errol frowned. We haven't received anyone since you took over as Archmage. I see. Lindahl got up from his seat. Does that bother you? The other schools are getting big and powerful. They have much more influence than us, and you seem not to pay attention to this. Lindahl looked at Errol carefully for a few seconds and sighed. Occult school, I sent a series of our best magicians to search for talents. I don't want just anyone with us, but the best, for when they arrive I am preparing this school. When we started this there were only a few volumes of magic. Look around you now. It was true. Before they were completely guided by the words of the oldest and by what little they had managed to exchange with the magicians of Kiriel, but now they had a room packed from floor to ceiling, with complete appendices, codices, grimoires and treatises on magic, some of them written by himself, if you looked closely, had spent a lot of time and effort to turn his study center into a true school. We have not been wasting time, Errol. We have been preparing everything for when they appear. Soon I will put the light of this lighthouse, and that light will guide all the magicians who are willing to follow the arcane arts towards our doors. Lindahl seemed satisfied with everything that they had done since the occult school as such was born. Do you trust me? Errol was embarrassed for a second. It was not normal for Lindahl to ask those kinds of questions, less to her who was practically his shadow. With my life, she smiled as she carried a hand on her chest, or rather, on her heart. And I in you, with my whole being, if possible, with everything that is in me. The sorceress's face was bathed in blush that she tried to hide with her long orange hair. What are you saying? Like nothing. Well, since you offered me your life, I thought I should respond in the same way. Besides, when he got up from his desk his body seemed so light that a gust of wind could have carried him easily. We have been together since we were children. Aren't you going to retract now, or are you? Even with her face covered, Errol answered nervously, do you take me for a liar? Never. but I had to confirm it. He approached her, breaking several meters with an agile step. The fate of the magicians will change soon. I feel it in my skin and I have seen it. Before our era ends, life itself as we know it will to be what it is today. He slid a hand caressing the cheek of his longtime companion. His deep blue eyes seemed to twinkle. I've looked into the future and into the past. No, 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 no. Errol pushed Lindahl away and pointed an accusing finger at him. I hope you are not talking about time magic and that was a joke. She was really angry, her face was red again, but this time it was fury. Temporal magic breaks the prescriptions, even for us, we said it when creating the school. A shadow of sadness covered Lindahl's face. I know, I was there, I'm the Archmage. We said that it was strictly forbidden to set aside the Kyriel Pact, but that in addition to that there were only 3 studies that should never be carried out: Sangromancy, the arts of mind control, and temporal magic. I see you remember. Now I hope it was all a silly joke and we go back to the lighthouse thing you mentioned. No, Errol, everything is related. By all the gods. Listen to me, I've been using the studies on reconnaissance magic, resonance magic, search magic, hypersense magic, control and time magic to be able to create a reliable time view magic. You know well that this is not the problem. The problem is that if you know the future you will always try to change it, for better or for worse, and that will always generate a change in events. You know well that a pebble that you move today could be an avalanche in 100 more years. We can't play with that. We are not gods. If you saw what I saw, you wouldn't think the same. We are not gods, but we are magicians. It is our ambition to make the impossible possible. That is our gift. No matter what you've seen, I can't believe the Archmage was the first to break the rules. You disappoint me. Errol, I saw destruction, unparalleled destruction. The fear in Lindahl's expression left Errol petrified. I saw the end of us all. Indescribable chaos spread by flames dark as night itself. The black fire devoured everything, even the souls of the magicians. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, all died devoured by the black fire, and in the blink of an eye there was nothing left but death and destruction. The Archmage swallowed hard. Not even in my worst nightmares have I seen anything like this. Are you telling me the truth? I have no reason to lie to you. What I have seen has only left fear in me, like a pain deep down. Errol could not accept what his friend had done, less if he was the Archmage. We made the rules. If we are not able to follow our own rules, then we do not respect ourselves. I did it for us, for the future of the occult school. I have no other pretensions, and what I discovered is catastrophic. Lindahl approached Errol and took her arm firmly. We must stop him. We must do something to prevent chaos from destroy everything. Lindahl, understand, if that is to be the future, then we must not intervene. Each generation has to face its own fears and failures, its own trials. Even if these tests mean the extinction of all magicians, are you willing to bear that responsibility? Errol hesitated as she lowered her gaze. I don't know, Lindahl. She looked up with tears in her eyes. I curse the moment you decided to look into the future. I did it for you too. I don't want to lose you. I've built all of this to keep you safe. Errol could not answer him. The pain was too deep, as well as the responsibility. Perhaps she should not have found out about anything. At least she wished that. She had not learned anything at all. Several days passed before Errol returned to the Archmage's room. Lindahl had not left there in all those days. He spent all the hours scrutinizing the grimoires and magic codices as well as giving brief but profound glimpses into the future. Before starting he prepared all the way with complete dedication, without hesitation, without making any mistakes. His magic was the meditated fruit of perfection so great that he was unmatched in all of Therianor. There was no doubt that Lindahl was the greatest wizard of time in history. Lindahl started his spell, Maximum Mental Protection. He continued reciting his protection spells before establishing the spells to be able to look to the future. Maximum Anti-Influx Barrier, Maximum Barrier against Spying, Absolute Silence against Copies, Maximum Anti-Disruption Barrier. Said this continued with the spells Free Yourself, a great field of recognition. The magic circle that was drawn on his feet covered almost the entire room, shining with a pale celestial color. The fluttering of the eternal spirit resounds over the waters, from time immemorial until the sunset of the days. Let it resonate. Ring of the Gods. Another magic circle was superimposed on the one that had already appeared with very complex engravings. The color of both turned to a glowing purple color. Eye of the Father of the Gods. Lost and divine eye, if you are there, awaken my eternal sight. Give me the ability to see through the layers of the visible. Allow me to witness the paths, the inscrutable destinations that only you have. Peaked an eye crowned by a bird of prey appeared in the upper half of the circles, changing the color of everything to a pale orange. I feel hot. I feel cold. I feel night and day. I feel eternal and finite. I feel that everything becomes mine. I have seen and felt the mist at dawn, the star at night, and death at the crossroads. Open the way for me to hypersense. A series of magic circles appeared drawn over the others, and instantly everything shone purple again. In my on the left, everything moves without falling and without emptying, without missing a drop. I hold time and oblivion. On my right I have the world held back, without missing a drop. Everything is with me, stagnant or stopped. I hold it without fear. I am the master of time. I am the master and lord. Said this, a snake was drawn around the entire room and ended up biting its tail when it reached the other end of it. Then Lindahl opened her eyes and could see into the distant future as if it were had in front. When the Archmage could finally see, he was observing the high snowy peaks of some mountains. He knew immediately that he was somewhere near the Golden Point. Then among the copiously falling snow he could distinguish a horde of shadowy beasts attacking a lone warrior. The warrior destroyed beasts at each great command, but these were reproduced from their own ashes. They were too many. Lindahl looked away and immediately space-time moved to another time and place. Now he was in a desert. 4 very powerful wizards that he had never seen began to recite an incomprehensible spell of endless scrolls. In the center of the magic circle a dome was beginning to rise that was trapping someone. Lindahl tried to look closer when someone interrupted his magic, forcibly pulling him out of his magical trance. Errol had Lindahl by the robe, ready to beat him if necessary. If you do this myself again, I will banish you from the school. We have our rules and we will not break them. Lindahl looked at her, lost. They had taken him out of the magical trance by force, and that still had him confused. His gaze became normal except for his right eye that was left blank. Errol, is it you? Lindahl stretched his hand towards his face of Errol and smiled at him. I don't see well. Errol hugged him tightly. Don't do it again. Please don't. You see it's very dangerous. I know, but I do it for our future. We will have to gather the 8. They must know this, Errol. She looked at him with her eyes full of tears. Not now, Lindahl. We don't have the power to defend you. If they decide to judge you by the methods used to know what you know, then we will have lost everything and I will not lose you. She clenched the Archmage's robe so tight that her fingers ached. We must make the occult school strong. Then we'll do what needs to be done. Lindahl nodded silently. He had completely lost the sight of his right eye, so he could not use the magic of time as he had been doing.
Si nuestro trabajo te ha gustado, no olvides darle like y suscribirte para recibir notificaciones de nuestras próximas historias. Si quieres apoyar nuestro proyecto editorial, puedes seguirnos en Patreon o apoyar en forma directa mediante Flow en los links de la descripción.